we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. Today we're focused on Star Trek, the original series, season 3, episode 18, 19, 20?
18, I believe.
18, thank
if
you.
If you're going by air date order.
Air date order, yeah. The Lights of Zetar. And so, Fathery...
I couldn't agree more.
Sorry, I was trying to make up for... Ruben does this stuff better than me. We have quite a lively chat already. Looks like a bunch of folks have shown up. Nice to see you there. Cake is Eternal. Hi everyone, how's it going? I was distracted the whole second half of the episode by the number of times they referred to Lieutenant and Starfleet as the girl. I know, it was like the girl. How's the girl doing? It was a lot, yeah. Mr. Peepsor says, Scotty is so handsy in this one. It's true. We already have a lot of good takes here. Some hot takes in the audience. And also, this is Mr. Meepzor's first time viewer of this podcast. Mm-hmm. Do I need to review any memory tapes first? Yes, memory tape 14 and 17. First and
D. Yeah.
I find it's 18, but there you go.
And then we have our wonderful friend Jill, who says completely uncooperative yet extremely compliant. Very cringy stuff, but good name. I don't think I can joke around with this one. I think this one finally broke me. I'm sorry to hear that, but I understand completely, Jill, because there's some really there's some things that they do right, and then there's some things that they get really wrong. But I don't know. We'll have to talk about it and figure out like what was acceptable within the context of the time and what wasn't. Because by the 80s, it was already a little cringy to do some of these things when I was a little kid. Today I'm joined by our wonderful regulars here. We got the Sub-Commander decloaking, and we're going to try to keep this one really quick, guys, because Sub-Commander has to get back to Romulus for that spa, to get to that spa.
It's for my Romulan daughter's piano recital.
Oh, very nice.
Really read it for, but don't let me hold you up if it keeps going.
Thank you. We have our wonderful Dadmiral back wearing a very cool 1701 shirt, and Fathery's here from Text Trek. How's it going, guys?
It's going great.
Wow.
Excellent. I'm going to assign Fathery to do the episode summary because he does them quick.
Don't make me do this one.
I did the Strange New Worlds one. It's somebody else's turn.
Fine.
It takes a long time. So.
All right, fine. I'll just do a quick one. All right.
Do it in 5 sentences or less.
Ooh. Okay, it's going to take me like 10 minutes just to think about that. No, I'm just kidding. All right,
count.
so...
Haiku format.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I can't do haikus on the fly. All right. Well, I'll just say we get we get a strange new episode of Star Trek where we find Scotty is in love with a lieutenant who comes aboard to do some research, to do some work upgrading, I think, Memory Alpha. And then we're visited by the Lights of Zetar, which make everyone on the Enterprise have different effects neurologically. Thank goodness they had their shields up, because if they didn't, they would have gotten killed, like the poor inhabitants of Memory Alpha. And then a whole lot of weird interrogations occur, and like a lot of very kind of creepy, cringy, I would say, behavior towards women, especially Lieutenant Romaine in general. And but fortunately, she's strong enough to face the foe, and defeat the Zetarans with the help of her crewmates. There we go.
I think you had one sentence left, actually. There's a lot of like run-on stuff going on.
I think
there.
we could actually split. We could actually got it down. We could actually turn around and said the Enterprise takes Mira Romaine to Memory Alpha. They're attacked by a storm. They find out it's not a storm. It's the Zetar. Mira gets possessed. They work towards it. They cure her. The end.
Yeah,
there you go.
It. Yeah, there you go. So tell me what you guys.
What was the deal with her family, that it like goes after the woman in her family or something, like all the people with the same last name?
That's not this one.
Oh, okay.
That was
yeah.
That was the.
Well, no,
that was the
you
other
actually
light.
find that
That was the the light of the ghost of of Ronan.
Oh, that other
That-
spooky light. Yeah.
That other spooky light. Yeah.
I'll say that that's an episode even worse than this one. So you got to go to TNG season 7 to get episodes worse than this. But they are out there.
So yeah,
there's quite a few into G season 1, if you ask me. But there you
Yeah.
go.
what did you guys think of Scotty being in love and all that stuff? Like, what did you guys think? I'll just say first that I think he's a terrible boyfriend. He's very clingy and presuming.
Not very professional, is it?
No, it's not very professional. Kirk was definitely annoyed by it. He was condescending also, so no wonder he doesn't like have another girlfriend until Uhura, like many years later. And then that only lasts a movie. So his relationships don't seem to last a long time. Poor Scotty, I feel bad for him.
The Uhura's lasted longer.
Jill says Scotty was worse in this episode than Spock was in That Which Survives.
Oh,
He
I was gone last week when y'all talked about that one.
Yeah, we did. We talked about sassy Spock. We like mainly focused
He's
on
kind of a
sassy
mean
Spock.
boss in that one, isn't he? When
He
he's in
is.
command of the ship.
But aside from that, I thought the concept of the Zetarans was pretty interesting and cool. And maybe it's just because of recency, but I couldn't help but think that it's weird how in Strange New Worlds there was a non-corporeal kind of Illyrian thing going on, and here we have these like the Zetarans had like a similar vibe where apparently there was a catastrophe on their planet, and it forced the last 100 of them or whatever to become non-corporeal, and then except those guys on the Illyrian colony were being helpful. These guys were just like insane. They wanted to like live out the rest of their years as a colony inside of a person. And they didn't care about that person's personality, or that person's that person's autonomy and personality. Which I'm trying to think that reminds me of something else that we've seen in Star Trek. I guess it's kind of like possession and stuff like that in a way. Anyways, I liked all that. I love the way that they, I guess you could call it a modern twist on an exorcism, because that's kind of what they do, is they exorcise the Zetarans from...
This would have been before the movie, right? But this is before The Exorcist came out. I was like...
it would have definitely been
early
before The
70s.
Exorcist. Yeah, exactly.
Just a few
But I mean,
years
just the
ahead.
concept. Yeah, but I'm just
Was
saying
like
the
Dick
concept.
Donner
yeah.
watching this, he's like, man, this is cool. I could do like a whole movie about this.
Because, I mean, you do get the voice, like that weird, creepy voice and like the possession
Or no,
kinda
Dick Donner did
qualities.
The Omen. Who did The Exorcist? Who directed that?
I
The
can't
book
remember.
might have been out already. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
But,
sure the book was out. But anyways, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. It's part and parcel to Starfleet Boy. But yeah, it just reminded me of that. And then the other thing I really tuned into on this episode was I was really impressed by the kind of camera work, the framing, I guess the direction in general. And, I even, Father, I rarely do this for the TOS discussions, but I did a couple of screenshots, screen grabs even, just to kind of show...
Going that
some of
extra
this,
mile.
yeah,
This
I
is
went
what
a little...
tune in on.
Yeah. I went a little
Saturdays.
further. Yeah, it's true.
Quality
But yeah... Sub Commander, why don't you tell us what you thought of this episode overall?
Oh, it's interesting. I almost never watch the episode in preparation for these discussions, because usually they're mostly in my brain. But I hadn't seen this one in a long time, so I went back and looked at it. I didn't read up anything on the background about it, and yeah, I mean, it's not great. We were saying before the chat, it was one I tended to avoid when I was young because it was a little bit scary. That scene where the woman who's possessed by the Zetarans on Memory Alpha, starts to speak. But I mean, it has a lot of beats that are similar, but not as good as Where No Man Has Gone Before. Where, I mean, for one thing, the incidental music is almost, beat for beat from that episode, but also the idea of there's some force out there and it affects one person who's particularly susceptible, and then now that person is a danger. In this case, they're able to cure her rather than having to kill her or strand her on a planet. Never a fan of Scotty being sort of a besotted schoolboy here, but I agree with Arthur in the chat. It's, I'm sure James Dewitt liked having something else to do, and I mean, I actually kind of like his acting. I just don't think it's good for Scotty. But I think, like even from his scream or, telling her, they're gone, Mira, they're gone. I mean, he's bringing a lot of emotion to it. I don't think it's great for Scotty, but I think it's an interesting performance. Yeah, but the idea of the universe building of having memory alpha, and the concept of this universal place that's open that everyone can go to share knowledge throughout the galaxy. I thought that's very interesting. But yeah, I mean, in general, not one of my favorite ones. And I kind of feel like it could have used another round of editing where, like there's a couple things they never really fully explain, or they don't linger on why that decompression chamber is going to cure her of these Zetarans. They could have spent a little more time on that and a little less time of her just floating in there at the end. That seems to go on like maybe 20 seconds too long for me. But
they're like, this looks cool. Let's milk it.
Yeah,
well,
yeah, maybe
that was just to wind Scotty up. That was to wind Scotty up because he wanted to get out.
But the last thing I'll say, or at least right now, is that there is someone who live tweets on TOS Saturday night. I forget her name or her handle, but she's a big defender of this episode and really likes the Scotty love story, and she makes some interesting points. So I put in the chat, I think, a link to her blog where she talks all about it. But yeah, certainly for modern sensibilities, the casual way they refer to Mira as a girl, and everyone is very handsy with her, etc., and she's just sort of like a vessel for people's attraction, is a little bit cringeworthy. But I'm not going to hate on any particular TOS episode too much. There are still parts about it I like.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, actually, Jill was mentioning that she grew up in this time, and it was bringing back bad memories of how women were treated in general. So yeah, I feel like it was the norm, but it was still cringy even back then. Like, women didn't like it and stuff like that. But it is interesting that this episode was partly written by a woman who I think also Jill was saying that she admired.
A famous
Lamb chop.
What's that?
She did. You remember Pork Chop, or Lamb Chop, the puppet?
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's who Sherry Lewis is.
Yes,
duh.
She wrote this episode because she wanted to play, what's her name, Romero or
Romaine.
Romaine, yeah, Mira Romaine. She wanted to play that character, but they ended up, not casting her. They went with someone else, but.
I forgot about that. That's right. I loved Lamb Chop when I was a kid. Oh man, that's so cool.
She wrote it with her husband.
Yeah. That's really neat. Yeah. So yeah, I can see why she was disappointed at that. I'm disappointed now too, because actually Sherry Lewis is really cool. But again, who knows? I'd like to investigate a little more. I didn't have time to look on Memory Alpha or look at the trivia for this episode and stuff like that. So I'll rely on maybe some of you guys who have some of that here. But by the way, just want to say hello, Uncle Arthur. I'm Uncle Arthur's nephew, by the way, guys. Just so you know, I'm officially his nephew. So
Okay.
nephew Jean-Luc Sohail is how I'm referred to.
I've just looked on IMDb, and Jan Schutten, who played Mira, recently died. She only died October last year.
Oh, that's so sad to hear. Well, rest in peace.
7th of October 2021. She was 88 years of age.
Despite being written so badly, she was great, actually. I liked her. I like when she was defiant to Dr. McCoy in the sickbay scene, and she was like, this is all new to me. You guys have done this stuff for 3 years. You tell me, all that stuff. And it was kind of fun and stuff like that. Ian, what were your overall thoughts for this episode?
Yeah, there's some cringeworthy moments. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. Again, but I actually quite liked it. Jill, she challenged me to say something nice about it, and I actually did. With if you take the girl and the handsy bit and everything else, main story itself is a story. As I said, we've said that the world building with Memory Alpha, the possession, and basically exercising her. And it was actually nice to see somebody else get the girl instead of the cook. It was always 9 times out of 10 it was Kirk, the girl, and it was nice to see somebody else get the girl. So it's not the best, but it's not the worst. So there are elements of there that I did like, but Yeah, I enjoyed it. As I said, I watched it twice. I watched it yesterday and I watched it this morning. So it was actually quite nice to see, because yesterday I watched the remastered version and today I watched the original effects. So it was actually quite nice to see the difference with the actual lights and obviously effects in the eyes and everything else. Pretty much the rest of the episode itself was, as is, but the only real change was the Enterprise when you saw in space and the lights themselves. The lights on the remaster was a bit more colourful, whereas the other ones were a bit more starbursts
Mm.
on that bit. And so yeah, there wasn't that much difference. So it was mainly the story that it stuck with. But yeah, I actually like the sassiness of Mira. I did like
Yeah, me
that
too.
because
There were
everyone just
good
assumed and
moments.
everything else, and and quite rightly you do. If everybody's been out in space for all this time and this is your first mission, everything else, you were going. Well, you tell me. I've not, this is my first time out in space. You tell me what it's like. I don't know. I've just done my training. Um, but yeah, it's not aged well. I think is probably the best way to say it.
One thing about
Yeah.
her, sorry, but just real quick, one thing about her character that I found always kind of confusing in this show was that, she does start out very sort of defiant and kind of, for good reason and more of an edge to her. And then kind of like halfway through, she sort of becomes a lot more passive. And I guess, is it just how these Zetarans are kind of working on her? But like that scene in the briefing room where she's now very cooperative and sort of flat. I guess that was maybe deliberate, but I don't know. I found it a little bit that performance kind of uneven, or at least confusing for me. But she gives. I mean, however she's acting, she gives a good performance. I especially love at the end when she's slouched against the decompression chamber and talking in the possessed voice, and then tries to come back for a minute and talk. She does a really good job with that.
Yeah. I think there were definitely connective scenes that were missing, or like either they weren't written or they ended up being cut out for time or whatever. Because you're right, it feels like there should be some kind of a bridge between the two different behaviors that maybe is missing and stuff like that. This is the other Uncle Arthur, by the way. Jill
Yeah.
was reminding me about Paul Lynde, and he's Uncle Arthur on Bewitched. So I just wanted to pull
I've not
that.
thought about that in so long.
I
It's
know,
like
me too. Now I kind of want to
since those
watch.
episodes are on like Nick at Night
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
90s.
Yeah, I kind
Like
of
was the
want to
last time
go
they had
watch
any
Dick
like
and
pop
Night now.
cultural relevance.
An incredible effect. I don't know how they pulled that off.
Hollywood magic.
Father, what do you think of this episode overall?
Um, the only things I can say are just echoing some of the things that have already been repeated. I do like the world building side of it, that we do get to see Memory Alpha, that we get that Tellarite and that Andorian in there. That's kind of cool. I guess there's 3 times that we see them in the original series. This is the last of those 3.
Oh, so this is a different. This was a different Tellarite too, right? Like a
Yeah, it's
different.
a variant on the Tellarite.
Here, I actually have the screenshot here. So that's the Tellarite, and there's
Rest
the dead
in
Andorian.
peace.
Rest in
Yeah.
peace. Yeah, but that was cool to see on Memory Alpha, the different worlds of the Federation.
It
So
kind
to
of looks
speak,
like a
working
lower
together.
decks Tellarite. Where
Yeah,
they're
a little
a bit
bit.
more human
Well,
looking.
I must admit, when I first saw that, it reminded me. There were in the 50s and 60s. There was a long-standing comedy films called the Carry On films, and there was one called Carry On Screaming, which was a tongue-in-cheek done in horror films, and there was like a Frankenstein monster type, a cross between that and a werewolf, and that thing there with obviously they had like overall things reminds me of Carry On Screaming, and that's there. But if anybody's there, it is a long-standing, tongue-in-cheek, non-PC uh, comedies string of films, and Carry On Screaming. So that one there reminds me of Carry On Screaming.
Interesting. I have no idea what that is, but I'll have to check it out now. That's cool. Um, Jill points out, kind of sad that Memory Alpha was wiped out because they thought it would look bad to have shields. There was some sort of lesson there. I actually loved. Thanks for bringing that up because I actually loved that whole concept of the idea of like that. Why would you need shields on a place that's supposed to be a repository of knowledge for like everywhere? And there were echoes of like the tragedy of the Library of Alexandria and maybe many other libraries of antiquity that were burned down, which were repositories of like all the knowledge of, you know, like a civilization, if you will, and stuff like that. So I really dug that. Again, another plus side on this episode in terms of the world building. And it's a shame I don't think we've seen Memory Alpha ever again, right? Or, you know, I know that online you have Memory Alpha and then you have a website called Memory Beta. I wonder if there's a Memory Beta somewhere out there because, you know,
there is
surely...
there is one somehow, but it's only in the novels. It doesn't exist like in anything canonical.
That's funny because of what Memory because of what Memory Beta the website
no,
is.
I just made that up. But...
it's very nice, Father. But you know, you would think they'd be all about backups in the future, right?
Sure.
Backing up data.
What actually is there's a spacing between alpha and beta is the backup to alpha. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I'm assuming. Yeah, exactly. But it's never mentioned, and we never see Memory Alpha. But it's a great idea. And again, they even do it in Doctor Who. I love that idea actually because there's a whole planet that's a library in Doctor Who as well. So I love the idea that there's so much knowledge that you need basically a planetoid, you know, to like have it all there, and that it's free and it's open to anyone who wants to. My imagination about the concept of this shields was like even if a Klingon, you know, party showed up, that they would welcome them and say, yeah, go ahead, like, you know, use the library. You know, obviously there wouldn't be any like sensitive, you know, classified Federation stuff there. What were you saying? Was that a reaction there, Father?
Oh, nothing.
Okay. But yeah.
Currently, just saying there, Cake Eternal said that there is a novel about the Mira's future on Memory Alpha.
Oh, right on. Very cool.
That Tellarite looks a little. Did you guys ever see Land of the Lost? He looks a little bit like a Chaka. That's a deep. That's a deep pull. I don't know if anybody.
We have a friend named Chaka. So
no, he was like the little kind of caveman boy.
Yeah, Land of the Lost, which Walter Koenig also wrote on.
Oh, right on.
That's
on
right.
Star Trek: The Animated Series.
Fontana and David Gerald. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Cake has just said in there. Memory Alpha says Star Trek novel Memory Prime continues the story of Rain on Memory Prime, the successor to Memory Alpha.
Memory Prime, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is, the book is called Memory Prime, right?
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Nice, thanks for that tidbit.
Cake is Eternal knows
Thank
what
you,
I'm talking about.
This is a shot of the Memory Alpha updated version, and it looks like the Daimler Chrysler logo.
I thought it looked like the Seven Domes from Star Trek Picard season 1.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, there's a little bit of that vibe going on there too. But
in the interior room where we see the dead people, that was a reuse of the set for Whom Gods Destroy. That was
That's right.
control room. Where we also saw, and the last time where we saw an Endorian and a Tellarite together.
That's right. It must be the same. It might have been the same actors. They were just like, we got an episode coming up later on. Let's just darken the set a little bit and just film the scenes.
Just lie down.
I doubt they did stuff like that.
Pretend to be dead.
Well, it is kind of funny that obviously limitations in sort of wardrobe or makeup due to budget resulted in you getting some consistency with it just subtly in the background that Andorians and Tellarites were, you know, founding, or not, maybe obviously they never said that, although that's sort of what it became later in Enterprise, but just like, yep, you're thinking about the Federation and the bigger galaxy, you're thinking about Tellarites and Andorians, because that's what you're going to see.
And then we see them again in live action in Star Trek 4 on the Federation Council. There's an Andorian and I think there's a couple there might be a couple Andorians, but I think there's 2 Tellarites at least.
Yeah,
there.
And they look different again.
Yes.
I think the original ones in Journey to Babel were the best, honestly. But I like those eye things that they're in.
I really like this tactical display. Like it felt like they did a really. This was the same as like on the original, right, Ian? Like the display itself, they didn't remaster.
Yeah, that's
redo
the original.
Yeah.
The bit hadn't changed. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I really liked. I enjoyed.
It was
I
that
enjoyed
good
a
enough
lot,
that
too.
you didn't need to change it. You didn't really need to change it. And I actually, this for suspense, this was actually one of the better bits. I think the remastered improved on this because obviously on the original you'd see a screen and then the lights appearing, where obviously in the remastered you see the cells and you can see that it's chasing the Enterprise. So on that respect, that bit is improved on the remastered.
It just needed like a little countdown counter at the bottom, and you would have felt like Red 5 going down the trench there. And,
Oh, that's true. Very nice. It's true. What'd you guys think of Nurse Chapel? She had a little moment. In this
with a
episode.
Scottish accent.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird that you would like make fun of someone's accent like that. Like, we should all be used to like hearing different accents. There should be like a lot of like international people, like on the Enterprise. But the thing that I like about that is just like showing like, oh yeah, like Chapel and Scotty, like they're buddies. Like they talk about stuff that's not just like work related. They have conversations.
Well, just like in the future, nobody cares if you're bald. In the future, maybe nobody cares if you make a crack at their accent.
Kirk does the same thing in the motion picture.
Yeah, with the
like, you're right.
The Admiral Nagura line. That's right.
Good point.
Hold on, Google Slides is asking me to approve something. Okay, there we go. The other thing I liked is I can't help doing this again. The whole recency bias thing, or just having seen Strange New Worlds. But I was like a little bit like chuffed that she was doing a bit of this like tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic thing with him, because that's very much the vibe I get from Nurse Chapel in her younger days in Strange New Worlds. So
Sassy Chapel.
That's Sassy Chapel.
Unfortunately, they've really improved on Chapel in Strange New Worlds to change its Chapel on TOS. They've taken it and improved it, I think.
I think the neat thing about these legacy characters and the fact that they're so iconic, even Nurse Chapel, as little screen time as she had, was already, I feel like, someone that everyone knows. Like, it's a character that people were like, oh yeah, and Nurse Chapel, or whatever. But I think that like what's going to happen is that the performances in Strange New Worlds, I think that there's enough years before TOS that I can totally see that being like a younger, like 10-year younger, Nurse Chapel, who's a little bit more edgy and like different. And now like later she becomes like maybe she's like not as a main character anymore, but you can still get hints of that, and the more episodes and the more we see of Chapel in the past, the more I think it'll enhance the performance, or the appearances.
The Chapel in the show in the original series is such a blank slate. They're only showing her like when she's assisting Dr. McCoy, and I mean we get to see her with like her fiance Corby, and then like her being in love with Spock a little bit. But
right,
for the most part, she's such a blank slate. I think they could do pretty much whatever they wanted, and it would still line. There's not going to be much to contradict it.
Yeah, I agree. Jill says on TOS Saturday night, which happens tonight. What are they watching? Do you know the schedule, the program tonight? What is it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's This Side of Paradise.
Oh,
my favorite episode. Yeah.
Great. So that's tonight at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific time in the US. You just go follow that hashtag that Jill wrote there, TOS Saturday night, and you'll be able to see all the tweets. You just kind of press play and tweet along. As long as you put the hashtag in there, everyone will see what you're doing and kind of interact with you. It's a fun time. Anybody
in the UK, that's 5 o'clock in the morning. Anybody in Europe, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, so it's a breakfast time. But they took a sip every time they said the girl. You must have been drunk AF after that. Like, well, that's a sip. I was thinking a shot. Like, if you did a shot, that would be a fun.
Yeah, we lost 3 people to alcohol.
I don't think you'd get to the end of the episode if you did that.
It just annoyed me because Lieutenant Romaine she like definitely didn't seem like a girl. She seemed like a woman, but I guess you can't say the woman either. They should
You're Spock in the cage.
In
the women.
Or like what's his name? Jean-Luc in that episode with Ardra. He keeps referring to her as the woman. Like like he doesn't refer to her as Ardra. It's really weird. But here, yeah, they keep saying the girl, and I don't know. It just like it was like 4 or 5 too many times. I feel like they should have been referring to her as as like Lieutenant Romaine. I felt like
Could you imagine if they did this in the '80s? It would be the babe. It would be the
babe. No, they wouldn't say that. They'd still say the girl.
Oh, trust me, they would.
Or the chick.
I was a teenager in the '80s, and it would have been the babe.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like on a ship, though, it's out of place for even back in the '60s. I feel like I don't know. It felt weird. But
there are moments when there are moments when she kind of shines as a cool individual.
Yeah, no, she definitely does. It's not. I mean, I think the character is pretty strong in the beginning, like what Adam was saying. But yeah, there's something missing, and then she changes, and I think it has to do with the Zetar. Possession or whatever. So yeah, I agree.
And I liked that in Star Trek Beyond, when I saw that movie in the theater in 2016, they have Simon Pegg Scotty. He tells Chris Pine Kirk, he's like, "Oh well, I'd hang out with you, but I got a date with Lieutenant Romaine."
Oh, that's cool. I didn't catch that at all.
Sorry, but that movie was written. Speaking of like James Doohan was probably glad to have Scotty get some action back here in the original series. Simon Pegg co-wrote Beyond, so right. He probably gave him. He's like, even if she's off screen, I'm giving myself the hot girlfriend.
It's true. I do like James Doohan's romantic side. He is, with the exception of like the condescension later on, he is pretty sweet to her. And it is nice to see Scotty having a thing. I thought it was very funny how like Captain Kirk was super annoyed the whole time. He's like, so you're in a sick bay? So is Dr. McCoy an engineer? Later on.
I liked that. And then the line at the end when he's like, First Officer Spock, Dr. McCoy, and Engineer Scott all in agreement.
What does he say? I wrote it down.
How will I cope?
Can I stand the strain?
Yeah, can I stand the strain? That was a great scene.
When he calls sickbay and McCoy, I mean not McCoy, and Scotty picks up the phone. Yeah, I like his reaction to that.
Are you sick? Yeah,
that's right. Are you sick? What the hell are you doing down there? It's true.
Yeah, that's where the line is. Oh, well, where is McCoy? Is he engineering? Yeah.
Cake is saying accents should be the norm in an international interplanetary federation. It's weird that there are so many American accents. Or
if you watch Doctor Who, it's really weird that there's so many British accents.
Yeah. You could actually go that way with Doctor Who, definitely.
Yeah, why does the Doctor always have a British accent? Huh?
He does. Well, I guess Scottish is British.
It's British, it's like
it's different types of British accents, isn't it? Like you get like Christopher Eccleston had like the Northern English accent, and then
they didn't allow David Tennant to be Scottish.
Or Sylvester McCoy didn't. He didn't
allow him either. Yeah,
well,
it wasn't until
the new Doctor is Scottish, so it will be interesting to see if they allow him to be Scottish.
I think they might. Because Peter Capaldi was allowed to, so I think
he's the 4th Scot to play a Doctor.
Yeah.
Wow, it's like
we
James
have
Bond
an Irish
Who.
Romulan, so why not have a Scottish Doctor?
Yeah,
I love it. But yeah, I think that accents, obviously, if it's your native accent, you don't detect that you have an accent. Accents are only detectable by someone who doesn't have your accent, so it's like a weird concept to begin with. Because
it's quite interesting how you get anesthetized to them.
Yeah, my dad, when I was a kid, I used to tell my mom and dad, "You guys have accents," because they do, and then they would say, "No, we don't. You have an accent." And so it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you're right. But-
Yeah, thing is, though, I used to, when I was younger, I used to pick up on the American Canadian accents all the time. But because I speak to you guys an awful lot, I become, and I see them on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You start becoming anesthetized to it. You don't really pick up on the accents anymore. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same with the dialects in over here in Britain, where people go, "Oh, you've got this, and this, that." The Yorkshire Mancunian accent, the from the West Country, the Scottish accent, the Irish accent. I don't. Yeah, I'm becoming more and more anesthetized to accents all the time. So it does interesting how you do become anesthetized to it.
Oh, look, everyone, we have our friend Naomi in the audience here. I was almost said in the accent here. In the audience. Hi. Hey, Continuum Track. Hey, Naomi, nice to see you. She asks, how are my two former captains doing? We're doing lovely.
doing
We
well.
miss you. We gotta come up with some kind of reunion episode or something like that and come
Absolutely.
hang out. It'll be nice.
Yeah, sorry,
look.
Neo. Since I left, I got a promotion.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, and then and in TOS, we'll find that certain characters have accents earlier in their life, and then later they change. As Jill just pointed out about Dr. Mbanga, he has an accent in Strange New Worlds, which is a beautiful accent, by the way. I love that accent. It reminds me of I forget where it's from.
Well, the actor is Nigerian.
Nigerian, so yeah,
but
it's a
I
Nigerian.
think Mbenga is meant to be Kenyan.
Kenyan.
Which those two countries, from like little I know about them, but they're fairly.
Well, they've
different.
made Ahura. They've made Ahura Kenyan.
Yeah, she's
Kenyan, haven't
Kenyan.
they?
But they're on opposite sides of Africa, right? Like
Yeah.
Kenya's on the east coast and Nigeria's on the west coast.
Interesting.
Although
So, yeah.
Uhura, isn't it a Swahili word, which is a Bantu language, which is then from the southern part of Africa, so that also wouldn't be Kenya.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's it. If
You
you
know how much you wanna
remember the
I
changeling,
love how
if you
smart you
remember the
guys are knowing all these regions
Yeah.
and everything. That's
Yeah, if
great.
you remember the changeling when she's wet, when she's reading English, Chapel she says stop speaking Swahili. So that's where that comes
Yeah.
from.
Jill saying Mbenga is Ugandan or Ugandan.
You
so,
get
yeah.
again. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so
So now we're in the middle of Africa there.
the middle of Africa. So maybe his accent makes more sense. But he changes it later. You guys don't, this is a cringy thing about my youth, but for like a whole year, I feigned a British accent just like Madonna. And so I went around when I was very young. I went around speaking in an
Oh,
English.
dearie
In an
me.
it was an English accent, probably a London accent if I was close to anything.
Oh, who was Doctor Who? Speaking of Doctor Who, they did that with the actress who played who was the American companion.
Yeah.
It was
geez,
Tegan.
yes.
Was it Tegan? No.
No, it wasn't
no,
Tegan.
Australian
It
flight
was.
attendant.
This is
She
going to
had
be
dark
really
hair.
sexist, but it was.
Yeah, I think
But
it's
you're
all-
right. You could tell her accent was really. It was a really.
Yeah, but she would go do
Doctor.
interviews.
It was like,
Perry.
really-
Yes, continue to track it. Perry. Yeah.
Perry.
Perry,
that's right,
yeah.
Continue to
But
track it.
that actress would go do interviews and would tell like the interviewer like, "Yes, I'm American. I grew up in Philadelphia."
Perry Brown. Perry was the one who did it. But you say that it's like Captain Jack, the one who plays Captain Jack. He's actually Scottish. He was born in Scotland.
He's a Scotsman, but yeah,
And
he grew up in America.
When he's
in LA
at
or
home,
something.
when he's at home, he speaks Scottish. But when he's anywhere else, he speaks American.
And it's also weird because like on Torchwood, he'll speak with an American accent, but he'll use like the British way of saying, like one time, like instead of saying estrogen, he says estrogen.
Which is it's
Or
true. It is
like I know like no one wants to like talk about this word, but like instead of saying like pedophile, he says like pedophile. But like he's like but everything's like an American accent. But then yeah, he uses like the British pronunciation.
I swear
He
this
probably
is
says
not a Doctor
aluminium.
Who. I swear this is not a Doctor Who podcast, guys.
I have to say, Fabry, aluminium is the correct pronunciation, not aluminum. Aluminium.
Wow.
I don't have a horse in that race. I mean, like,
I don't have a horse
it's
in
y'all's
that
language, so.
Speaking,
Do you
I
know
love
what? I think one of the
colloquialisms
funniest
too.
things you say that about accents. I think one of the funniest things I actually did people really, really going is actually this American girl turned around on Instagram or TikTok said, "Why did the English steal our language, and why do they pronounce things differently?" Talking about
That's a
English, that people
failure
from
of our
England
education system.
didn't. Apparently we stole your language, and we changed the pronunciations on a few things.
Well, I'll just quote Henry Higgins and say, he is of the opinion that the English don't know how to speak, and they haven't spoken English in America for years. So, like,
I'm really going straight off from Star Trek and going on everything else. We've
So,
been on accents for a while.
there's
yeah.
a bunch of folks in the audience who want to hear me do a British accent. Now I'm on the spot, so I don't think I can do it. But I'll try to sneak it in there if I get the courage to do it before the end of this episode. If not, liquid courage definitely when drunk Sohail comes back in Starfleet Boy After Dark on its new
TQIF, yeah.
new night. Yeah, new night. Well, it's a new night, new time. It's Saturday night. Star Trek in now, or something. We'll come up with a new hashtag for it or whatever. But we're on a hiatus and we'll start up soon. So I'll try to do it then, or I'll just try and do it here tonight, today, later on.
Saturday night's all right for Starfleet Boy.
Oh, I like that. Oh, look at this. We did our job. You guys are so sweet that I'm no longer furious about this episode.
Oh, we've done job.
That's what we were out to do. That's what we set out to do.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why we're all over the place is because there's not a ton to
talk about.
discuss.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the sub commander said he didn't look up any background information on this episode, but I don't even think there's like much behind the scenes. At least nothing that I've heard, other than who
the Sherry
the
Lewis
writer
name
was.
drop thing is about it. That I can recall off the top of my head.
There's a couple questions I had about the tech, and I'll get to that in a second. But before that, I just wanted I think I pointed this out before we went on the air, so forgive me if I did already say this on the air, because I can't remember. But I really love the kind of framing and the shots in this episode, especially this one here of Captain Kirk is particularly pleasing, and it reminded me of the Star Trek the Motion Picture shot when we first see him through the window. Yeah, so it was like a cool little, I don't know if that's a callback to this or not, but
It'd
it was
be
just
fun
a cool
to compare that
similarity.
Because
Yeah.
this is they're shot a decade apart, but they're only meant to be a couple years apart.
I'll tweet about it right after if you like, Father.
Yeah, do a side by side.
I'll do a side by side for it. Yeah, but
Because a very different toupee in each of those shots.
Here we have like a very
his
dramatic
toupee and hair was a lot darker in DMP.
Here we have a very dramatic framing, recalling the Trinity a little bit here and it does have like a Kirk is Mary and like maybe McCoy is Joseph here or something like that, and Scotty's their little baby child. But I do like
it's got the three colors. It's got the three division.
It's got the three colors as well, which is nice too, which I liked a lot.
It reminds me a little bit of the scene in I, Mud where Scotty pretends to die and Kirk goes down and Scotty's dead. He's happier now. He's dead. Let us hear it for our poor dead friend. And they all start laughing.
It's true. And then and this too. I mean, like just the way it was framed and like the possession scene. It's just really beautiful work. So yeah, this episode gets a huge kudos on the cinematography and the framing and the shots and everything like that. Here's a little bit of the manhandling Father was referring to a little bit earlier. Like, Scotty's holding her hand.
I had to rewind this about 3 times because for a second the guy on the right in the corridor he's going like that, and I'm thinking, has he actually got anything in his hand or is he pretending? But there was a clear plastic thing he was going, and it took me about 3 attempts to look at it and he is going like that, and it's clear plastic. And I thought for ages he was just pretending to wind something up.
That's really
It was
funny.
hilarious.
What did you guys think of Scotty's scene here, where he's like, I guess she's in love with him too, because he or she says like, "I'd rather die than see you harmed" and stuff like that. I thought that was a tender, nice moment as well.
Well,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
this
know
is
how
where
it was typical.
she's having that apparition, isn't she?
She's Scotty always goes for these younger women, and there's like a 20-year age gap, and it never, which is fine. But I always feel like her and what was the other one, Palamas? They're mostly like looking up to him, or more of like it's a paternal kind of thing that they feel, even though he may have different intentions. But
Well, yeah, if you actually find her father was a chief engineer too. So
Oh yeah, I caught on to that as well. A little bit of
Good point.
a little bit of a daddy complex
Yeah.
going on, perhaps. Yeah, I did
But
catch.
the good thing
I
is,
did catch
at least
that.
in this episode, where he's interested in a woman, they didn't die. We're talking Wolf in the Fold.
That's true.
that's
Yeah,
true.
poor thing.
He didn't stab her.
Speaking of her background,
Yeah.
they also mentioned in this scene that she grew up on Mars Colony 3, which was a cool, again, nice world building and stuff like that too. So we know about the Utopia Planitia yards, but I forgot that there's actual colonists on Mars too. So like that's pretty neat as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
And of course, classic Trek, scared lady hugging. That's
Yeah.
like, but Scotty gets to do it instead of Kirk this time. So, but,
I actually do. I mean, I do. I actually quite like in both the remastered, it's actually going right into the eye. That shot where he just goes all. Then you start seeing the lights. I did like that. I thought that was quite good cinematography. Where
oh yeah, I like how
literally
it's
just
where
all
is
the
that?
way
Let's
to the
see.
eye.
It is really cool, and it's over here. Yeah,
you see it there. Yeah,
you could. What I liked about that too is like there is a slight jump cut, but you could tell that when it goes from an actual zoom to a like a photo, it changes.
Yeah.
But I still loved it. I thought it was very cool. It was very almost seamless. It was done really really well. I thought. Yeah, it was very cool. So I had this thing.
I mean, what do you think? Going right back near the start when they first encountered the lights? What did you think that? Was it Uhura couldn't? She couldn't hear anything. Chekhov
She couldn't find herself.
avert his eyes.
Uhura couldn't
and
find
then
herself.
and Sulu and Burke couldn't speak. So what
It wasn't
did
that
you
she
guys
couldn't
think
hear;
of
she
that?
couldn't move. She said she couldn't move.
Yeah,
Uhura,
she couldn't
yeah.
move. As
Yeah,
hand,
they all
was
had
it?
like
It was
a
hand,
different
wasn't it?
paralysis.
They explain that later
Paralysis.
on Memory Alpha. Dr. McCoy points out that every single person had a different part of their brain affected by the Zetar
Right.
attack. And on the Enterprise, it was mild because of the shields, but on Memory Alpha, because there were no shields, they were
It was
exposed
deadly.
to the full. Yeah, it was deadly. It was exposed. It wasn't even mild actually, but on Enterprise. But yeah, it was much deadlier exactly on Memory Alpha. So I like that. There was a rationale.
But Spock debunks that a bit, doesn't he? He debunks that, saying that the shields are useless anyway. Actually, did say that the shields were
Later
used
on,
against
when
them.
he says later on that he doesn't think if they did a full attack that the shield. Yeah, you're right. Later on, he says if they did it, like, because remember, the lights were chasing them like with more intensity later.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was like, yeah, I don't think the shields would prevent, and they don't, because the Zetaran lights, the Zetarans get in anyways. This was my my question. So I'll go back to like a zoomed in thing here, but I know that the Enterprise is supposed to have turrets for phasers, for the forward phasers, but it just looks like the phasers are coming out of that ring around the planetary
there's
sensor array.
there's little holes above the sensor orb.
Yeah.
That they're
are?
they're phaser
Yeah,
emitters.
like
Yeah.
So they're okay, or you mean they're
So
they're like,
no, you don't. You don't have you definitely don't have the phaser rings in on TOS.
Well, the way it
but
looks,
you
it just
do
looks
on
like a
TNG.
ring, and that it would have been neat if on the remaster they just had it so that it could fire out of any of those points. Because yeah, like I imagine that what I mean, like I imagine it as like a proto version of the technology that we see in TNG. But yeah, maybe you're right. You guys are right, but I don't see turrets myself. I know on the
This
back
is
they have
actually-
like a the aft phasers are a dome, and it looks like you can articulate from there too. Like it doesn't have like little turrets or anything like that on there.
It made me sad when you
This
took
is
like
this.
this beautiful remastered Matt Jeffries Enterprise with those spectacular blue phasers coming out of it, and you put it next to that ugly Galaxy class ship.
It like made you
And it is ugly.
mad.
It is
Father,
ugly.
you gotta tear your
I
shirt.
agree. It's totally ugly. This is one of the few times where the remastered and the original, they do have blue phasers in this one, in this episode.
I think
Both
all of the
episodes.
remastered is blue,
Oh,
but in the
Yeah.
original effects, it was like sometimes blue,
It varied in
sometimes
colour.
red, sometimes orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might be green sometimes. It's
And they
all over the
emerged from
place.
different places on the ship sometimes in the original effects. But yeah, on the model there was definitely two little, I mean, almost like little nipples where the phasers were meant to come out. And I think they
Oh,
could
there
even
are
line up on the model.
there are little nipples on the model.
original 11-foot
Oh,
model.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay. All right.
The effect didn't always come out of there.
Starfleet
sure
boy got
it's,
excited for nothing.
I'm sure it's pointed out in the Franz Joseph tech manual.
Oh, true. Which I have. I should have looked at that before I started making assumptions. Good reminder there, Father. Do your research first, Starfleet boy.
I'm sorry, Naomi, but to me, the Galaxy class is ugly.
Oh, Naomi saying the Galaxy class. Is not... I didn't
Well,
like
they
the
do
Galaxy
say
class.
beauty in the eye of the beholder. Beauty's in
I
the
didn't
eye
like
of the
the Galaxy
beholder.
class when she came out, but I grew fond of her. And in fact, sometimes I dream that I'm like in a starship. It's always the Enterprise D. It's weird. I always like those. Since
Yeah,
I
but
guess since I
inside's
saw
better than the outside.
well, the inside is essentially the TOS film sets kind of redressed, and they eventually expanded them, but they were kind of the same vibe, I felt like. So yeah, it's true. Guys, we're coming up to the hour, so let's wrap it up with our final thoughts and ratings. I'm gonna give this episode a 5. I know,
Wow.
I know, but it's a I think it's a fair rating for this episode. I think I think like some of the. I think this is you can't give everything a 10, I mean, sorry. I know you guys want me to, but I just
We've
can't do
become jaded.
it. I've become a little jaded. It's true. But I will say again, like as I talked about in the discussion, like there were definitely some really cool things, especially like when we were talking here, the world building aspect with Memory Alpha, Mars Colony, just like her background and things like that. That was really neat. It just fell short of delivering anything. Like it's not an episode that a lot of times my 10 comes from rewatchability factor. Those 10s come from, am I going to watch this over and over again? Am I going to, like want to go back and see it? And so this one's an episode where I don't know if I would. Actually, I'd probably skip it on a rewatch unless I was doing a drinking game where we had to take shots every time someone says the girl. So I think that might be its future use for me. But it was fun to rewatch it because I think the last time I saw it was like when I was a teenager or maybe a young adult. And then when I was a kid, like you, similarly to you, Adam, I definitely was kind of like freaked out by the possession aspect of it. But I also I do remember thinking the decompression chamber thing was cool. So those were the things that I remembered from when I was a kid, which was pretty neat. So yeah, what did you think of it? Adam, give us your sub-commander, give us your rating. And,
Sure.
If you like.
No, I don't have too much more to add to that. I think I'm pretty much on the same page with you with this one. I guess the last thing I'll say, and I mentioned it briefly before, is I did kind of like to hear the music from Where No Man Has Gone Before, the second pilot being heavily used again, because you rarely hear, I mean, they track so much music in original series Star Trek, but you rarely hear the music from Where No Man Has Gone Before. It's not my favorite kind of music, but it's nice to hear it. So, but in terms of a number, yeah, I'll come down on the same number as you. I think I'll give it a 5. So,
right on. How about you, Father? What do you think? And I know you like to give a fun rating, so feel free to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, like at the end of the day, this episode is not great. I'm sorry that we've been talking about some of the less stellar episodes lately to everyone who tunes in to us every week, and especially if you're new, if this is the first time you've watched Starfleet.
Yeah, go back and watch our season 1 and 2 discussions. They're a lot of fun.
there's 6 TOS episodes left, and there's 2 of them I actually really like. Another 2 of them I really like parts of them, and then there's 2 that I think are not very good. But it'll be fun to talk about those. But yeah, as for this one. Very, very underwhelming. Very much you're in that like that season 3, scraping the bottom of the barrel. The show's on its way out, and yeah, I would rank it. I don't know, one dead Tellarite out of the last 100 Zetarans.
I always love those ratings. Very cool. Ian, why don't you regale us with your rating for this episode? There, I did it. I did it.
It's very posh.
I don't know. I'm not certain. I don't know what this accent is. It's something, but it's there.
Well, I'll give it a 5 out of 10.
Wow, is
That's
that
what
an
I'll
impression
give it.
of
I'll
my
give it a
accent or an
13.
American accent? Is that an American accent?
No,
What is that?
No, that's a bit of a brummy one for Birmingham. As I said, I think we've all hit on the points that, you know, if I was to go over it again, I think it'd be overkill. But I think the same as you and Sub Commander, it's a 5. I don't think I could give it any more than that, less. But yes, I think the best thing, as we said, best thing is the world building on this one. It really does give more to future Trek that obviously we don't, you know, they didn't know at the time. But yeah, I think 5 out of 10 is a. I think we're being more than complimentary on giving it a 5.
How many people know of the website Memory Alpha but don't know that it's from this episode? I wonder if that's like I feel like the website memoryalpha.com is probably more famous now than the Lights of Zetar.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
I mean, I must admit, I had forgotten. It wasn't until I watched it. So that's where it's from.
Uncle Arthur says episode of 5 Starfleet Boys accent a 9. Wow, thank you. I don't know. I don't know.
I wouldn't have gone that way. I wouldn't have gone that way.
I do a television British accent. It's a television British accent. It's an amalgamation of all the TV shows I watched as a kid.
You're getting more of a BBC, an old BBC style.
An old style of BBC. It's true. Well, gentlemen, what's going on in your universes? Why don't we start with you, Father? Tell everyone what's going on.
Can I go first?
You gotta go first. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, nothing's going on. Follow at Mr. Leslie TOS.
Yes, a really good one today, by the way. A cracker of a tweet today. I loved it.
Follow all that stuff, and then tonight is hashtag TOS Saturday Night or ETV's Star Trek 2. If you follow that as well. And with that, I'm going to engage Cloak. Nice to see everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye, Sub Commander.
See ya.
Go ahead, Father. Tell us about Text Trek and what's going on.
Sure. Well, lots of exciting things. We are discussing Star Trek Strange New Worlds every week. You can check that out live on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central on Fridays, and then a Monday morning, that show will be available to listen to wherever you get your podcast. But we try to do the deepest deep dive analysis and discussion on each episode. We go through the whole thing, storyline by storyline, plot point by plot point. Try to talk about any continuity connections or references or anything in there, but also just talk about the story of that given episode, which is a lot of fun to do on Strange New Worlds, where we're getting these good classic self-contained stories each week. So. And that's a ton of fun. We just launched the Text Trek Discord server, so if you want to connect with us over there, that's a thing now. And also, we just launched the Text Trek Patreon, and we two of the first patrons are here right now. We have Starfleet Boy and Cake is Eternal. So thank you both for signing. That's gonna help us out going forward, and. People need to tune in to the Trek Central stream tomorrow. At 3 p.m. Central, right? 4 Eastern,
4
3
Eastern,
Central.
3 Central, 9 British.
9 UK. But yeah, me and Starfleet Boy will both be over there, and there might be some new exciting announcements made over there. So tune in to that.
Right on. Jill thinks I want to give her a rating, but I was going to save for the end, but I'm going to put it here now, which is 0 respect out of 10 the girls. Nice. But yeah, so check that out, guys. Tomorrow at 4 on Trek Central. Well, just check it out. I'm not gonna say. I was almost said something. All right, switch it over to you. Father, you got to get me an introduction for you as well, by the way. I love doing the introductions like that. That's very cool. All right, look at what's going on over here. It's the shuttlecraft.
Shuttlecraft, yeah, this is my latest bit that we've done. It's even got the bit on the front. So yeah, this is just a bit I did earlier today. I will be the bit I'll be putting a video out in the next week. It will be the Proto Star that I showed you last week. I'm just doing some editing on that one. I can be found on Instagram, Twitter, as YouTube. Like Fathery on Text Trek, I do a Patreon account as well. My 4 patrons have been with me for a long time, so they've been brilliant for me on that one. So yeah, it's going to be some more. It's going to be Lego. I'm getting really close now to my new goal, which was 150 that I'm doing a giveaway, and I'm just going to quick look to see where I am. I'm on 132. I'm 132 for some 18 away from my first milestone. And as I said, whoever when we get there, this will be the giveaway. This is the USS Titan. They said we
Nice.
saw on lower decks. So this kit, so this will be broken down into pieces, and the electronic instructions will be sent, and all the pieces will be sent when I hit 50. So I'll be a randomly picked subscriber to my channel. So yeah, so follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, Dadmore_UK, and come say hi.
Right on. Very cool.
Oh, real quick, 1 minute ago, the official Star Trek Twitter account put out the trailer for the new episode of Strange New Worlds, and confirmed the big alien race that are going to be the baddies in that episode. That I almost wanted to mention something about earlier, but I had to stop myself from saying it.
The official Star Trek Twitter account just put it out?
Yeah.
You mean the Paramount one?
I guess.
There's actually 2 official Star Trek accounts. So there's the Paramount Plus one. Let's see here.
Yeah, the Star Trek on
Star
Paramount
Trek on
Plus.
Paramount.
Let's see. Oh, okay, very cool. You had predicted this, didn't you?
Well, I watched the episode last night. I have the screeners from Paramount, but
Oh, that's right. That's right. Are you allowed to tell us that? That's cool.
yeah, I'm allowed to say that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you just had to give spoilers. Yeah, don't give us
I'm just
any
not allowed
spoilers.
to talk about the stories until 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. Thursday.
Very interesting. Ooh, next week is gonna be exciting, guys. But we're tomorrow we're gonna talk about Strange New Worlds on Starfleet Boy at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Come and join us there. I think Ian's joining us for that, right, Ian?
Yeah.
Sweet, and I think a few other of our friends, including Marcelo, will be there, who was in the audience earlier. Real quick before we go, Jill wants to know, do you have an entire room for your collection, Dadmiral? And the answer is yes, he's sitting in it.
The answer is yes. As you can see, there is an awful lot of coming out. Lots of Lego there. Yeah, there is quite a bit. There is more. The small ones are all over there. We won't see. I have been asked to do a little flyby of all my Legos that I do, and I will be doing that sometime and putting that on YouTube. I will. I'm always open to suggestions to what to do with the channel, and builds. You know what ships, what people would like to see. As I said, I have a whole load of boxes of ones to do. But yeah, if anybody's got a suggestion and what they would like, what else they would like to see on the channel, I'm always open to suggestions.
I'm gonna just put it out public. I want to see the Strange New World shuttlecraft next. That's what I want to see. So I loved your shuttlecraft. I want to see the comparison.
I am actually going to be doing a mini Strange Worlds Enterprise. So
very
we'll,
cool.
see
Very
what we
cool.
can do.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Audience, thank you as always for being in the chats and having a lovely, lively chat today. Very cool. I didn't get to everyone's points, but a lot of great points being made. We'll see you guys next week. Live long and prosper.